Go.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Can I have your attention? This is the beginning of the 32nd We Are Movie Club Hangout for tonight, Saturday, May the 10th, 2014. My name is Charlie. I am live in some bunker in the middle of nowhere, and with me I have a one and only tonight, very special guest who will introduce himself right now.
Hey everybody, I am Kamurai, and I really wish Charlie wouldn't say the number, because I have no idea at this point if those numbers are correct. I'm just continuing off the last one every time we do one.
That'll do.
So I guess this is, what, you said 31? So this is episode 31.
This is actually episode 32.
32? Yeah, because that was a thing I did once on the internet. It's now out there forever, because you can't take the pee out of a swimming pool. Alright.
You can't.
So, man, what we've been watching, do you want me to start, or do you want to tell us about all the porn you've been watching?
Well, I think we should probably wait until a couple of hours for that, wait till it gets truly dark outside. So no, you tell me what you've been watching, because you were talking to me earlier about this, and it does sound quite interesting.
Okay, so what I've been spending most of my week watching, and I'll explain why here in just a second, is a show called Switched at Birth. It's a show, and I want to sit here and do all the sign language for it, but I can't. It's a show where two 16-year-old girls find out that they were switched at birth at a hospital due to a mix-up. But the big thing is that one of the girls actually went deaf, and the other girl's hearing. So it becomes a huge part of the show, the deaf community. So like all of a sudden, like the show goes silent, and it's the only time I have to like look over and see, instead of like, oh, what are they doing? It's, oh, what are they saying? And it's truly like one of the only shows where I'm actually kind of excited to see the subtitles. And that's only because I'm a jackass and I never learned the sign language properly. Because just watching the show, you pick up on stuff, like stupid or whatever, hearing, deaf, information. I'm cherry picking just examples that I can remember offhand, but as you're like, it's one of those things. As you're doing conversation, you can definitely understand it better. You get a better context for what's going on.
Mm-hmm. That's just so much. Is it an American thing?
It is an American show. It's really a lot of people like you don't really recognize. Like Daphne's parents are kind of familiar. Katie Leclerc, I think, is actually the most famous one. She plays Daphne. She's the deaf girl. And she's been on Big Bang before. She was actually the deaf girl Raj was trying to date.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, so I was real happy to see her on there, and I wish nothing but good things for Katie Leclerc. She's amazing. She's like the perfect celebrity to me, because not only is like she really good, and that's an accent she tried to do there. It's not her natural speaking accent on the show, because she talks deaf, where she has an accent. And it sounds something like this, which I don't mean to insult deaf people, but a lot of deaf people, when they try to speak, do sound like that or worse, and it's just how it is. It's not good or bad, it's just the fact of it. Because they can't hear how they talk, so they don't care. They just don't like the judgment from hearing people. But she actually wasn't born deaf either. She actually went deaf as a result of a disease, or a condition. I can't remember which. But she's become pretty famous. But she's a normal girl who happens to act, is how I see her. Whereas you see a lot of actresses or actors that go in and do a role and like, oh, well, he's an actor doing that bit. No, and that's why Katie Leclerc mostly does deaf roles in movies and such, is because she's just kind of doing her thing. But there happens to be a camera there, and she plays the part.
It just sounded an interesting thing. I'm happy to check that out, although obviously if it's American, it'll be slightly different to the sign language I know. But You know, you can still
That
pick.
may be an extra interesting layer. I didn't mean to step on you there, but that may be an extra interesting layer to it.
Because American Sign Language, as far as I'm aware, only really uses one hand, whereas British uses two. So
I think it's both. You can use two hands most of the time when you talk. I think this is conversation. I probably just signed orgy to everybody, but like there's one hand equivalent. So instead of like, if this is conversation, then like you can do this, and it's understood that the other hand's supposed to be there. So I think it's maybe just a little bit more flexible than BSL. But I think if you put like an ASL person and a BSL person together, I think they get it. I don't think it would be that drastically different. Like someone would go over like, I don't know what he's saying. Get him out of here.
it'd be impossible.
So let's do that. Let's put two of them in a cage and have them fight to death. Because we're all about humanities here.
We would like to put a disclaimer at this point that we do not mean anything that we actually say.
Anyone who knows anything about me ever, especially with comes to entertainment and media, that I'm behind, I'm inappropriate for all ages.
He's not kidding, ladies and gentlemen.
Inappropriate for everyone. But that's really all I've been watching, except for like YouTube, and I've realized that like I've definitely prioritized my podcasts, and I just fall behind on like individual videos. I'm really disliking that, but I just don't have the time, especially with at work right now. I'm getting back into watching like educational videos for my job, which are actually worth my time now. That's good. So I've been watching stuff on there, so I can't listen to something while I'm working. So like I tried to squeeze in a podcast on my lunch, and it's like it was just too long for me to fit it in for what I was doing. So I had to make sure like I was researching stuff while I finished it up.
Sounds good.
But no, I'm fortunate I'm in an industry and job where I can do that if I really want to. But it's mostly like right now I listen to the Rooster Teeth podcast. They do 2 a week, one on the Rooster Teeth channel, both on their website, but one on the Rooster Teeth channel and the other one on the No. And I can never remember if it's The No or No. I think it's just No. It's the channel No. KNOW, but so they do that, and then the Polaris, and then the Escapist has one that they put out. So mostly it's video game stuff because that's really where my jam's at.
See, those are things I've never really gone into. I mean, obviously I know of Rooster Teeth, but I wouldn't be able to tell you anything really about them. It's not something I've really ever invested in.
No, it's I mean, it's something I've been into like almost since their beginning, not the beginning, because I don't know. Like, I've never watched the schedule. It's the first movie that like the guys put out like before they were doing Machinima. But like when Red vs. Blue season 1 came out, like even when it was still on air, like on the internet, I got into it then. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. And the DVD came out, and that's when it really started picking up for me because I got to watch the whole thing in sequence, in order, as a movie, and like that's where we were able to addict our friends to it. They were like, okay, watch this thing, just watch the first couple episodes or scenes of this movie with us, and then like everybody would lose their mind because either they would go, oh, this is like the funniest shit ever, like even if they don't play Halo, or they would just stare at it, and then stare at us because we're laughing our asses off. Be like, what is this? Why are we watching people play a video game? So
That's
it's
actually a very neat segue because I watched the first season today.
Oh, did you, Charlie? Would you care to tell us about it?
Yes, because it was a very difficult watch, and to begin with, I turned it off after 10 episodes because I thought it was shite.
What?
I, I will give it credit. I thought, for the sake of continuity, if we're going to be watching the second one soon, that I wanted to be able to watch it all. And it did get better. It did get better, and I found the last set of episodes much more enjoyable. But that first few episodes, my God, that was difficult.
The first 2 episodes?
I think it was like the first 6 or 7, to be honest with you.
Well, they do differ a little bit. They changed some of the programming on the fly. They started with like 2 to 5 minute episodes, and then they ended up going like more towards 5 to 10 minute episodes. And like at the beginning, like Bernie was actually doing a lot of the voices, so it didn't work out great. Like for him doing Sarge's voice, but around episode 5 or so, Matt comes in to do Sarge's voice, and that character really kind of takes off. But they had to set up a lot of stuff and get you like into like what the world is going to be. And they actually changed the story because originally it was just going to be like the blue guys spying on the red guys, like that whole first episode where the blue guys are just commenting on what the reds are doing. I think that was the original plan, but they really made some strides and stretched the story out. And I really think they created something special. Because when I say it was Bernie Burns was the writer for like the first 10 seasons. But
yeah, I get that, and as I say, the further it went on, the more I enjoyed it because I think it developed that sense of depth. It was almost like the first couple were just like random skits that didn't seem to go together, but then it did begin to come together. I think, ironically enough, sort of Church being killed and then he kind of recurring back as a ghost, that kind of gave it the first level of a decent continuity. So I'm actually looking forward to the second series just to see where they can take it, because it seems like a very basic concept, like just a couple of people in a Halo universe pacing about, and now it's got that depth to it. I'm actually quite interested.
Well, now, and thanks to Rooster Teeth, that is a very simple concept to do that sort of thing with, and like personally, I'd rather do it with like Minecraft if you get it to work, because it is kind of difficult to set up all those shots and everything to get it right, like in the motions. But like back then, they were pulling it. They were like working out of a spare bedroom. They were pulling footage off the actual original Xbox. It was all done like on a local area network on original Xboxes, probably back before they even had S controllers. And then they put it on the computer, which was not nearly as good then as it is now, and they crop out the heads-up display.
But the time that they did it, it's really, really good.
Yeah, it was innovative. Really, it was literally almost the beginning of machinima. They were in the first generation at least. And then what was the other thing? I lost it. Say something, Charlie.
Machinima is something that is only a very new concept to me as well. The machinima idea is something I only really heard of about maybe 3 weeks ago. I think it was probably you that mentioned it.
People blame me a lot for that. But the other thing I was going to mention is because Rooster Teeth got involved and did this, Microsoft actually like hired them on during the second season to keep doing it with their product. And because they did that, they got in with Bungie, and Bungie actually put an option in Halo 2 for Rooster Teeth. If you were to like push in on the joystick or duck down a couple times or something, he would actually go from here to here, because the whole thing where Rooster Teeth got started was off a glitch.
Okay.
When you see their heads bobbing, right? They're doing this. What's actually happening is they're aiming at the ground, and if you go all the way down, their head comes up when you start aiming at your feet. So,
right, yes.
So what they're doing is they're actually moving the cursor thing from their toes forward a couple inches.
And it's just snapping back.
Yeah, so you sit there and do this on the joystick and look up and down to make the head bob, But so to facilitate that, to make this product work better, Bungie put in a thing where it just put the gun down, so that they didn't have to like mess with the head bob. They could literally look where they needed to look. That way you could follow marks just like you can in real life. Because what they do like in real life is they take tennis balls on poles and they're like, look at the tennis ball. There you go, good actor. To get them to look where they want them to look. So in Halo, like you can go in and set stuff up like that. Especially when I think Halo 3 introduced a Forge mode. They had to love that because that let them literally set up the virtual installation however they wanted to set it up.
I remember only very rarely playing Halo. I never really had an Xbox, so that was new to me. But I do remember the level that Season 1 is set in. I remember playing that and failing so many times.
Blood Gulch was such a good level. I don't know what happened though. I think they made it bigger by the time it came back, because they kept it for the first 2 games, and then I think the 3rd game they got rid of it, and then Reach they brought it back. I want to say, but they changed a lot of it, and I think they just made it bigger to accommodate the vehicles, because originally that map was not one you really wanted to play with the tank on. And this, not to delve into video game talk, but just, it's like having a set. Like, it's like, oh, you can have your old set back, but now it's bigger. So it takes longer to get around the map, to set the map up. If someone drops a grenade and kills everyone, then you have to rebuild the entire scene. And everyone has to, like, run in from wherever they spawn, and I don't know. It's very interesting, and I'm really starting to get a hold of that playing with Minecraft and doing video recordings of that.
Yeah, that was one thing I did love about that original Halo level, that I could just grab a quad bike, do a Leroy Jenkins, and within 5 seconds be on the other side of the map getting crap on.
It takes you a lot longer than you think, I guarantee you, because the whole time you're on that thing, people are like, oh, should I snipe him? Oh, maybe the rocket launcher. No, and I can go on about Halo for another hour just on its own, because it honestly brought a lot to the table. It revitalized the first-person shooter, in my opinion.
Hashtag WeAreHaloClub.
You know what? Not with 343 in the mix. Though I wouldn't mind running some Spartan Ops with you, buddy.
What?
Spartan Ops is the new multiplayer cooperative mode where, like, you can fight the aliens together with your friends.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's the best thing that came out of 343 having control of it, but I don't like how they did a lot of things. Because the multiplayer formula was too easy for them to copy. I actually wanted something a little bit more from them when they took over the franchise. And not QuickTime events. Okay, that ends me being upset about Halo 4.
Should we talk about zombies?
Yeah, zombie mode. Halo did have a zombie mode. No, I'm just playing. But this week's pick, which just went up a little bit ago, because reasons.
Yes, I remember seeing that.
Dominic's pick for Zombieland, he put up his review like, I don't know, like a month ago.
Yeah, he did that. He did that real early.
Yeah, so that brings up an interesting precedence for things, but yeah, go over and check him out. www.youtube.com/Backsorn. He's kind of renowned for his green screen work with the movie clubs, because he gets a cool idea in his head and he figures out how he can do it, and he's better at it than I'm ever gonna be.
He's the only one that uses green screen, I think, that I've certainly seen.
Other people have in past, but not anyone who's stuck around as long as Backsorn. And that's probably due to people getting discouraged from SourceFed. But it is what it is. Zombies. So I wanted to revisit zombies. We talked about apocalyptic stuff last week, and I want more zombies. I don't think they're played out.
You don't? Okay, where can we go then?
Well, that's the thing, is like Zombieland actually examples some good things. You made some excellent points, and we had a couple discussions about how you actually categorize Zombieland, and we compared it to Shaun of the Dead. You remember?
Yes.
So like you almost had the stance that Zombieland was a parody.
Well, I said it wasn't quite. I mean, it's certainly nowhere near a parody, as much a parody as Shaun of the Dead obviously was. But I think Zombieland it's comic to the point where you could almost consider it so, but not quite.
Okay, well that brings up an interesting point though. Because it's funny, does that mean it has to be a parody? Or can it just be a funny zombie movie?
No, not at all. It can be just a funny zombie movie, but the tradition or the stereotype rather is that zombies aren't really a funny thing.
It depends who you ask. And but no, I think you're right. I think people who do zombie movies typically try to make horror movies. Oh, I misspelled copper. Okay. So, like, horror movie and action movie, what is your opinion on the difference between those?
Well, a horror movie always has that staple, well, thing that's supposed to be scary. Just to take it on to next week, because I've already watched Carrie. That is a horror movie because it has blood, gore, and scares the living shite out of me. But I wouldn't necessarily put that trope on Zombieland because it didn't scare me, so you can't call it pure horror. Whereas I think action doesn't have to have that horrific element, it just has to have something that's vaguely able to get your pulse going a bit.
Okay, now I definitely agree with you that there are different types, subgenres, if you will, of horror movies. Because you got monster movies, you got zombies, vampires, aliens, a lot of ghost stuff, like supernatural or preternatural type things. Like Mike Myers is kind of like a possessed person. Jason Voorhees is basically a zombie demon thing. Chucky's a possessed doll. All these movies play with your adrenaline, particularly, but I wouldn't put Carrie in the same category with them.
Okay, well, how would you categorize it?
Carrie does have supernatural elements, but Carrie almost is more of a sci-fi movie that just happens to have a scary part or two. But maybe you could share with us a little bit, like where did you find the movie scary?
Well, again, we could have a massive debate on how you define what scary is. I think
Just as it pertains to you, please.
Well, the only truly scary thing where I would have said, "Sweet Jesus, I'm scared," is actually the very final scene where Sue is going to lay these flowers, and suddenly the hand strikes up. I was not expecting that, and probably wet myself. But I think there was, and I suppose the final, when Carrie's going on a telekinetic rampage, where you've just got Sissy Spacek does a brilliant, piercing stare, and just her wandering through, covered in blood, just eyes dead forward. I just thought, my God, that is actually very well done, especially for when this film was done. We can't forget this is nearly a 40-year-old film.
Oh, I totally agree. Sissy Spacek was perfect for that role. And given the time period when it was filmed and produced and shown, totally agree that would have been a scary momentous moment. But given 30 or 40 years, really, and like desensitization from all the technology and everything that I've had exposure to, I found it lacking. I didn't find it nearly as scary as everyone like told me it was.
There's one thing that I find, maybe with films that may be a bit older than Carrier's, but because there is that massive difference, the sheer age of the technology, it almost seems a bit that seems to add to that sort of level of scariness in a way, because I kind of buy into the fact that it's a 40-year-old film, so I almost go back to, okay, so what if I was watching this back in 1976? And that almost heightens it, in my opinion. It's like when you look at old 1940s movies, like that very old Godzilla film. Just the fact that the props and everything is so much older and nowhere near as good as what we have now. That almost seems very eerie and creepy in a different way entirely.
So wait, did you just categorize Godzilla as a horror movie?
No, I'm just saying that if you see what came out, like some examples that came out in like the 30s and the 40s, that the tech that they've used is so different, it almost haunts you for the fact that it's really just so different and almost painfully different.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. You know what? A good example is The Thing. If you compare the 1980s version versus the 2000 version, because in the 2000 version they started using CG, and they have some really interesting effects there. However, the practicals, I think, from the first movie are better. Honestly, I think it's much more effective. So that case would actually support your theory and not mine. But because you have exposure to things like that CG where you could actually work it in and make it more realistic, these crazy looking puppetry things, the only thing that gets you about them is like how wrong they look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that kind of sense of, oh god, that feels so wrong.
And that's actually the best way to do horror to me. It's not like, oh, here's a scary monster. Is like The Thing, play with their brain a little bit. Like the big thing, I think it was a Hitchcock thing. Don't show the monster. You actually see that prevalent in video games. In certain video games where you have survival horror aspects. Like Slender Man: The Arrival. The whole thing is you're walking around in the dark with a flashlight trying to find these notes. I don't know why you're doing it. But like he'll pop up around, so if he shows up, you have to get away from him, so you don't actually get to see him unless you die.
They take a famous Psycho scene in the shower. You don't see what's on the other side of the curtain, and that's what makes it so effective, because then your mind starts thinking, right, what is that? And that, again, like you just said, heightens the senses, and that's adding an even bigger layer to it.
See, and I would say take it one step further, like a lot of people have, which is why like horror movies are just funny because it's just watching a bunch of bad strategy to me. But like a psychological thriller actually plays with you because it does the same concept, only it's all mental. It's hiding who the killer is from you usually, so you've got to play with it, all the clues. So instead of a shadow on the wall, you get like this hint that he likes licorice or something weird. So then you find licorice at this guy's house, and you're like, oh my god, is he the killer?
Yeah, definitely. That adds a brilliant aspect to the film, and I don't really think we could attribute that to Carrie in any way, because we all know what's going to happen.
But is that because it's a dated movie, or because it's obvious from the start of the movie?
I think actually, from the start of the film, you understand that Carrie is eventually, basically, the bullies are going to get their comeuppance, but you never really find out how until it happens, because I think you get the feeling that it's even surprised Carrie at what she's capable of and what she can do, and the fact that she's so heartlessly but so easily essentially kills her mother as well. So I think that's where maybe the psychology of that comes in, because it gets revealed. You get the build up of it, you get the hints of it, but you don't really see her full potential until it's there, and it's more than anyone even her could have expected.
I don't know. Like, I think there's so many different ways you could do. I'm actually looking forward to. Oh, it's I get to change the scene for that, don't I? So I'll
Do
go
you?
back into. I think
I
so
thought.
because I got bad summaries this week, right?
Um, keep talking. I'll check.
I had an idea for it too, so hopefully that isn't right. But there's so many different ways you could do Carrie, and like maybe one where she doesn't like get to retaliate properly, because she's such a beaten individual, or you go something more like Chronicle where she kind of like breaks mentally and just goes on this rampage of hunting everyone down. Um, and we get like a more drawn out version of that, because I think I said that in my review for Source Nerd Movie Club. That was the one thing I would really change would be, instead of like 90 minutes of foreplay and 10 minutes of sex, do maybe like a half hour of foreplay, like as the first act, and then do 2 acts of just going to town. Like just draw out the scene at the school where she's like hunting them down through the hallways. She actually managed to lock all the doors from the outside beforehand. Like just something where like she actually is the villain. Like have the main character really be the villain, where instead of just someone who broke down. Um,
Well, luckily for you, you get to talk about that because it is you doing change of scene that week.
Yay! So I'll have to try to come up with something special for that.
I have, because I do upload change of scenes in my channel every week anyway. I have done my own version of it, so you can compare notes. I need to get bad summaries on that done.
Yay! So yeah, and I've got an idea. I don't know. I really don't know how logistically I'm going to pull it off. But I think it'll be an interesting thing for bad summaries this week. I'm really looking forward to trying it. I think I just solved it. But so I don't spoil that, let's move on with this. I wanted to ask your opinion on the Saw movies. Have you seen any of them?
I haven't. No. Let's add them to the list of films that I haven't watched but probably should have.
I know. And I can't, in good consciousness, be like, you should go watch this right now because I'm going to torture you with Red versus Blue for a while. But the Saw movies are what I immediately think of when I think psychological thriller now. I honestly don't know what my old example was, because I definitely had it. Like Murder by Numbers comes to mind, but Saw is the psychological thriller because, yeah, it's a kind of a gore fest, but it's a legitimately creepy, freak you out movie because it's something that could really happen to you. There's absolutely nothing there that's completely fictional. And then what was it?
Actually,
and then like, go ahead.
Go on.
My whole point was going to be that like it's actually designed that you're watching him mess with these people the same way that the directors and the writers are messing with you watching the movie. So that's the kind of meta of it. I still think it'd be. Oh, you don't know who Agent Main is. I still think it'd be funny if, like you said, meta 3 times, like Agent Main would show up. But Red versus Blue, yay! You had something else you were talking about.
No, speaking of Red versus Blue, reminds me of something I want to talk to you about sort of We Are Movie Club admin, because we have your Red versus Blue season 2 pick as of the 23rd of May. But then we have some free spaces, so if there is anybody watching this in the playback and they want to pick something for us to watch in June, then please do let us know, and we will set you up with a week, because we're more than happy to have anybody contributing that isn't me and Cam just picking every other week.
No, and that's fine, because We Are Movie Club will continue as long as there's 2 people or more that want to participate. And I do have somebody kind of in the wings. She's kind of nervous, so I'm trying to help her get started.
Poke her out with a big stick.
Say again?
Poke her out with a big stick.
Okay. Anyways, no, it's just I made a friend recently, and she actually stumbled across my YouTube stuff, which is weird, but um, she actually really liked the movie review stuff, and she explained to me kind of how she wants to do what she wants to do. So I'm gonna try to help her out here, and probably get her on a test run for a couple vlogs or something this week, hopefully. And then if she gets comfortable doing that, she said she'd like to do a couple movie reviews. And if we're picking movies, then she'd like to get in on that.
That sounds very good. I have just spun the Netflix roulette, so I know what my next pick is going to be, or whenever that may be.
Oh man. But yeah. As a bit of promotional, we're always looking for more people to join in. This is supposed to be a community project. And I love collabing with Charlie, but he gets a little forward late at night, and I can't take all the harassment.
Is it now? Is it 3 court orders I've got now? 3 different states. That's the reason he moved, by the way. He didn't move for a new job like he tells everyone. It's because he had to get a state court order. I was subsequently banned from the state of Georgia.
If you weren't so obviously English, like, I think I'd be even funnier. But
Surely that makes it worse because I'm prepared to get on a flight over there just to stalk you.
I thought about how ridiculous that would be, because I thought like that would actually be kind of a cool vacation, like to fly up there for like a week and just experience Great Britain. I don't know what that means, but I'm around 30 now, so like I'm just kind of like wondering on certain things I have missed out that like I just don't subscribe to, where like you just do that weird, I'm gonna go here and experience it, because I don't know what that means. But we're not talking about movies anymore, are we?
We've gone off topic again.
That's all right. That's it's not gonna kill anybody, that we're doing that. But that's not what I wanted. Sorry, I'm doing other things here at the same time. But how can we lead that into movies?
What did we have else?
Movie about a vacation, Charlie. Go.
God. Maybe about vacation.
Damn it, Charlie! I've thought of 2.
Oh.
That's just funny. Like I can't think of any more than 2 right now. But
Battle Royale.
what kind of fucking vacations do you take? That's not a vacation that anyone requests, right there. I can just imagine them at the travel agency and be like, "Do you have anywhere where I can go to an arena and battle other children to the death?" I think that'd be a really good vacation, as long as I come back by the 3rd.
As long as I'm guaranteed to stay alive by the end of it.
No, I think it's The Holiday, Jack Black, Cameron Diaz, and who's the other chick? The one from Titanic, in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Kate something.
Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet, yes. I think her and Cameron Diaz's characters, they swap houses for the Christmas, because essentially Cameron Diaz has like some kind of breakdown, and then so she's a spoiled like Californian, overprivileged American, so she ends up like, this will be great, I'll get away from everything, it'll be a sweet little cottage in the country, and Kate Winslet is like, I've never been anywhere, where can I go? America. Hopefully you relate to that somehow.
Yeah, in a way, because that would be a big thing for me, whereas it wouldn't really be for you.
I don't know, like here, like I've got a place to stay, I've got internet, I'm okay. But the whole thing is like the cottage ends up being about as big as like Cameron Diaz's living room. So it's just funny, like Kate Winslet meets Jack Black over there, and so it's this whole swapped thing. And then the other one, Charlie, they're gonna take me away to a home. can't ever remember anything.
You rubbish
Forgetting
asking
Sarah
me.
Marshall. The Jason Segel, not Sarah Michelle Gellar, Kristen Bell.
Didn't
Kristen
that have
Bell.
Russell Brand in it?
Yes, it does have Russell Brand in it. So I made this relevant to both our nations.
He's a twat. I'm sorry. This isn't a family show, I can say that.
Did you call him a tosser?
I called him a twat.
A twat.
There you go, there's some British profanity for you.
Oh, Jonah Hill was in that one too. He was giving. Oh no, it wasn't Jonah Hill. He was giving seconds. Jonah Hill wasn't. He was the waiter who was like the fanboy for Russell Brand. But what was it? Maria Thayer was in it too. Oh God, I love her. She's so pretty. But the geeky guy from 30 Rock was in it too as Maria Thayer's newlywed husband. So Russell Brand, like, there's a whole. It took like 15 minutes on this storyline where he like is giving him sex tips for her because they were waiting and then they went to Hawaii and then they finally had sex and she's like, well, that was nice. And then like one conversation with Russell Brand that's just ludicrous, and then apparently he's a sex god.
He likes to think of himself as such, but
I don't know. I get that he probably does very well for himself, but I can't imagine going to Russell Brand in any serious fashion for advice on anything, let alone like, well, how do I fuck my wife? Which, right there, that sounds like a great idea for a movie.
I wouldn't be surprised if that ended up on TV at some point. There's an entire series, there's enough rubbish on British TV that he'd probably get that.
Well, let me tell you how I would do it. Let me get in there.
Oh, God.
Oh, man.
We were talking about movies.
We were. And then I did a horrible Russell Brand impersonation. You obviously are not a big fan.
No.
I just touched my camera cord, so I apologize if my video cuts out. But, and I'm sure it did.
It did.
But, is there anything he did that you like?
Anything that he did? No, not really.
Charlie, keep talking.
I don't know, I just don't find anything that Russell Brand does actually to be any good.
So you don't find him a credit to your nation?
Not a credit, no. I can think of other words I could use, but again, I'm not going to say them on live television.
So what do we call this? I mean, we're live on the internet. I'll give you that. But we're not quite live on television. Is that something like that we should aspire? Is that proper terminology?
Yeah, let's get on NBC, baby.
No. I'm still mad at NBC. Revolution's a great show, but they got rid of their comedies that I liked.
What did they get rid of that you liked?
Well, like I really liked Whitney Cummings' show, and so they never brought it back for another season. And maybe that's the thing with her less than them. And then there was the Matthew Perry show, Go On, where it's all about him dealing with the death of his wife through group counseling.
Do you know, I think that one might have made it over here. That just sounds like it rings a bell.
Matthew Perry's awesome. I'll watch pretty much anything he's in.
What was the other one he was in? Was it something like Sunset Strip on something?
Sunset Strips? Are you talking about Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
No, something else. Let me look. Keep talking.
Oh,
there was another one that I remember seeing a trailer for on TV that actually looked okay, that I'm convinced he was in.
I mean, he's a great actor. He's really funny. I actually miss him and Matt LeBlanc. I think Matt LeBlanc did something recently, or more recent than not, too. and I need to figure out what that is so I can watch that. Because Matthew Perry and Matt LeBlanc were Chandler and Joey on Friends. Matthew Perry apparently did an Odd Couple series recently that's not been released yet.
That was what it was. Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip. Apparently that was really good.
Oh, he did a Mr. Sunshine too, so that's what I thought you were talking about.
No, not quite.
That's good that he's been doing stuff. Like, I saw him in 17 again.
He's been doing a lot since he finished Friends.
Well, tell you what, like, I don't know. Well, he did a bunch of stuff before, because he was a movie actor. I mean, he's been a movie actor. He just kind of stopped that and did Friends for a while, because you don't need more work or another paycheck when you have that. But I would recommend Numb. Out of all the stuff that I'm seeing on his list, if you can only check out one of his, go check out Numb. That was really good. Because it was all... Go ahead.
There's one that Matt LeBlanc's done since, and it's a British thing called Episodes. I don't know if that's made it over there yet, but basically, Episodes is a British... There's two main actors that are really big in Britain as well, and they are playing these writers that have written this really successful series that then gets sold off to be made in America, and basically the Americans change everything, and rather than having like the archetype British guy, they get Matt LeBlanc in, and it's really, really good.
That's why I was so excited, because they were showing commercials for it, and it was things like, "You look so good for a man of," and like he just kind of gets his face on. He's like, "Say a number, I dare you."
But yeah, it's got Stephen Mangan and Tamsin Gregg in it, and they are kind of like a really good sort of British acting double act. They've been in all sorts of things together. Another thing, if you want a really funny British comedy from about 10 years ago, look for something called Green Wing, which is set in a hospital. That is funnier than Scrubs.
What does that mean, Green Wing?
Green Wing's just it's just like a hospital, like a sort of a nickname for a hospital department, really, because a lot of doctors wear green overalls in the operating theatre, so I think it's just Green Wing for that reason. But it's so funny.
There are 3 seasons of episodes.
There are.
3 seasons? That's just been released to DVD. This started in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
I watched the pilot for that. It was really, 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 really good.
These are going on my queue right now.
You will not regret it.
I am so excited for that, because I need more serialized content rather than movies to watch. But
can you get Green Wing?
Green Wing. Let me look that up too. I'm interested, but what doctors wear overalls?
Well, it's like the operating surgeons.
Oh, like they're scrubs. Okay.
Yeah. It's essentially a British version of Scrubs, but the one that's funnier.
I can't get it on Netflix. Maybe Hulu. Hulu. You know what? I think if Yahoo wouldn't like sue them, I think that'd be a great little soundbite for them.
Great soundbite.
Have you Hulu'd today? And look at all the shows I'm behind on. Oh, that's great. Whatever.
I think it's probably a good thing that over here we don't get Hulu or HBO Go, or we can get Amazon Prime, but you know.
Well, there's problems with HBO Go, but Amazon Prime. You know what? I keep forgetting that I have that service. I need to utilize it.
I've never had it because as a student I can't afford it.
No. I signed up for the free trial and I kind of forgot about it, which is what they want you to do.
Yeah.
So, like, and then I suddenly realized, like, well, there's a nice chunk of money missing. What did I spend that on? And sure enough, it is, or they've got at least a trailer for it on Hulu. And then, like, I looked back and I was like, I'm an Amazon Prime member. How much did that cost me? And I just ended up adding up together. Yeah, apparently I can watch Green Wing on Hulu, so I will
Give that a watch.
add that to my queue or whatever it's called on here.
I think
There,
that's only 2 seasons, but
yeah, that's
well
what's
worth it.
going. I do not understand this because you can favorite a show on Hulu or you can add to queue, and I think your queue is supposed to be like your temporary to watch, while your favorites are supposed to be like shows you watch.
Yeah.
But they track all the shows you even try to watch. So like, occasionally I'll still get like notifications for shows that like I watched an episode of, and I was like, nah, not really wanting to watch this. They're like, but you watched this. I'm like, no, you put it on after my show was on. I didn't actually watch any of it. Like,
Actually, while I'm
go ahead.
thinking about Green Wing, actually, this is perfectly going into us talking about serialization and stuff. But can you get Not Going Out as well? That's another
Not,
British thing.
not going
16.
out.
If you can get that, that's very good as well.
I put it not as the first thing that showed up. Um, is this kind of like?
I'm trying
I'm
to
just
think
looking.
what that'd be like. Oh,
I'm looking at this. There's a show called I don't know what it's called. But it's like a straight guy, a straight girl, and like a gay guy, and they're all roommates. And they
sounds
cause
like
each other trouble.
that sounds like New Girl, but no, I don't know. Don't know what that is.
New Girl.
Have you not seen New Girl?
I have. Are you talking about the Zoe Deschanel show?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So. Oh
I,
my God!
I
There's
only
like six
I
seasons
only-
of this, Charlie. Oh, but they're like 6 to 8 episodes. Okay.
Yeah, there's no more than 8 in a season. That won't take you long. It's, if you like that kind of constant joke every 5 seconds kind of thing, then Not Going Out is perfect.
I don't know. Like I like a quick beat. Like that's why I liked Family Guy for the longest because it was a laugh a minute.
Yeah.
Which can be interesting, but it tends to detract from the overall value of the show. So that's what happens when you have like a movie and you have like comedy writers write for a movie instead of like something shorter. Is like, yeah, it's funny, it's a good time, but it doesn't stick with you. It's not something you go back 10 years later and revel in. It's like, oh, I watched this once. Well, I was an idiot. Um, I don't know. Well, like, I'm definitely like I put it on my queues or if I favorite them or whatever. So when I get around to it, I'll go back in because I find myself like I either have way too much to watch or I go dry and I'm like, well, what am I gonna watch now?
Yeah, I've never had that. It's always been there is way too much that I have to watch.
And I kind of like that as long as I don't feel pressured about it. Like YouTube stuff, especially with people that like we've actually met and talked to in real life or on internet life or whatever you want to call it. Like I feel that pressure and obligation because I want to keep up with their stuff, but it's just gotten to the point where like I really can't. I can't do it. At least not right now. And maybe I'll figure out a way. But like I can throw on something like a TV show or a movie, especially if I've seen it before, and like I can let it play, and I don't have to worry about stopping and changing to the next one, going through and putting all this on a big queue to watch. There's so much more things like I can just let it go. And especially if I've seen it before, then like I've seen it before, so I'm not missing out. If I step out of the room and I go answer a phone call or I go to the bathroom and forget to pause it.
Mm. I just have YouTube playing constantly in the background just to catch up with stuff.
But see, and then like now when I go to YouTube, it's like, oh, do I have a podcast? Do I feel like shifting video every 5 minutes or something? Like I don't know. I don't know what my problem is. I think I'm just in a phase where like it's no longer how I feel about entertainment.
Yeah, I get like that sometimes. Just looking at my lists, I have 430 YouTube videos I still need watching and 300 30 odd podcasts that he's listening to. There is not enough time in a day.
Wow, I mean, like, I would honestly put, like, Kevin Smith's, like, Smodcast stuff up on a queue like that and go through them at a later date, but, like, podcasts, especially for the amount of time you put in, like, it feels like they need to be more, like, you need to be on topic. It needs to be more recent.
Yeah, I do get that feeling, because I listen to a lot of sports ones, and it's like, well, this is stuff quite literally. I'm sort of about midway through February at the minute, just with the stuff that I'm listening to. So it's completely out of date.
Yeah, I honestly tried going back and watching listening to the Hollywood Babylon ones that he does, because I really enjoy those. That's what got me listening to them again. But I was just trying to catch up, and then they aren't getting put on YouTube regularly anymore since they lost the one sound guy, because he would go and compile the sound up with some video. And they don't have whoever it is doing that anymore for them, and I think they've just kind of given up. Like I'm like half thinking like, give me the audio and I'll do it. Like I don't know when I'd. Yeah, but you'd figure like Kevin Smith, out of his fan base, somebody or he'd know somebody that would be willing to just do it. And maybe not even like as a paid position or like even a benefit. It's like it's Kevin Smith. He could probably like, you do this and like I'll put you down for a free copy of a film of your choice for each time you do it.
Yeah, making some kind of incentive for it.
Yeah, I think that would be fair too. Like I mean, it's like I'll give you a signed copy of Mallrats, Clerks, Chasing Amy. We'll go one DVD per shot. Until you have all the ones you want, and then you can get your choice to give away as gifts or something. So that way there's no money involved, but he's compensated for his time. I mean, and that's shit that like Kev has laying around. I don't know. Like I can't fathom having those lifestyles where. Like, yeah, they need to work, they need to maintain their lifestyle, but having that much resource at any one time where it's like, whatever. But I don't know, that gets you. Go ahead.
As I say, should we talk about serialization quickly then while we're on this kind of vein?
Serialized what?
You want to talk about serialized things this evening?
I don't know. We've covered it pretty well, I would think.
Is there anything Is there any major names that we've missed?
Oh, you know what? I do actually, because I talked to my mom about it because I thought it was funny, and she thinks she gave me the idea to watch it. I had mentioned to you Falling Skies a couple back.
That rings a bell, yes.
Because it was sitting on my next Netflix queue, and I was like, "What is this? Why is this here?" And I read the description, and I was still like, "I don't know what you are. I should probably remove you from my queue, but I put you on there for a reason. So I'm going to trust myself that it's something I'm going to enjoy." Popped it in, watched like the first 10 minutes. Like, oh yeah, this is me. Because that's the show I was talking to you about where it's the alien invasion.
Yes.
So yeah, I think we did talk about this briefly. And the first 2 seasons are just really good. I'm really excited for the third one because it's just being released coming up for Netflix release here, and then season 4 starting up on the Sci-Fi Channel, I think. And I really wish they would just film it all, because you need to film it all and get it filmed out, and then binge release it. Binge film it, binge release it, so I can binge watch it along with everybody else, and put it once out on the internet. Subscribe,
how Netflix did with House of Cards.
Yes, but what these companies don't realize, these networks, is that they can do it themselves. They're already streaming episodes on there, so many episodes per week or whatever. But you could release a whole season all at once on your site and do a subscription, because kind of people already subscribe to your network through the cable provider, but this way they get to pick and choose who they want to be subscribed to without having to go through the cable provider. And you know what? That's probably why they don't do it, is because the cable company would get mad at them.
Possibly. That raises an interesting question of, if you've got things like Netflix, and I know Amazon, I think even Xbox are moving into doing this kind of more independently made. You're right.
Go ahead. No, I was just saying, I'm angry. I'm slightly angry about that, but go ahead.
Fair enough, but if they're making this content that's going deliberately towards subscription services rather than being made onto TV, how long do you think it's going to be before they start making full feature films like that, and we begin to see even like the death of the movie theatre because of just content that's being made deliberately for internet-based subscription?
We're already seeing that because, like you mentioned, there's going to be Xbox originals. Hulu has originals through them, where it's the only place you can get them. Amazon has been wanting to try to do that. Netflix is doing that. It's becoming a commonplace thing in the people who are already playing the game. So anyone who wants to join is going to have to do that to become marketable. And I hate it because it's my same argument with the video game world, which is what pisses me off about Xbox originals, is that if you look at the Xbox One, there's almost no difference between having that and having a PC. It doesn't make any sense. You don't need another computer for your living room. If you want a computer for your living room, go buy a computer for your living room. We don't need these new platforms. The Xbox One and the PS4 have issued themselves obsolete from launch. That's why they're trying to do all this other stuff that PCs do, so they can stay competitive. But we don't need all these platforms. We don't need Hulu. We don't need Netflix. We don't need Amazon. We don't need these to be 3 different platforms. It would be nice if there was. This will never happen, especially in America. But it'd be nice if there was one service that kind of did it, and then like you had, or maybe 2 different services, like one for television, like let Hulu have that, and then Netflix do movies only. And then if you have subscriptions, then you can track who's watching what and who deserves what money when these movie companies contract with these people.
So you're saying kind of almost make it a bit more almost exclusive just to guarantee its future.
What I'm saying is get rid of the exclusivity and make it all inclusive. Like you can watch whatever you want, wherever you want to watch, on whatever platform. But what the realistic competitive market is the more exclusive you are, the more marketable you are. So you have to do that to stay competitive. Because if I like watching Deadbeat, it's a Hulu original that came out recently. But if I like watching Deadbeat, and I don't really like any of the shows over on Netflix, why am I going to watch Netflix when I can do a lot of the same stuff over on Hulu? But now it's really like Hulu does mainly TV series and whatnot, whereas Netflix does mainly movies, except for these Netflix originals that they've done. And then they put out some older stuff on there, but you can probably watch the series on Netflix on Hulu. So I'm subscribed to both anyways. It becomes a question like I can't get away from being subscribed to both. I can't pick one or the other. So why not just make them separate services?
Yeah, again, I think I'm quite fortunate over here that we don't really get all of that. To be honest, I think Amazon stuff is available over here, but as far as I'm aware, Hulu isn't available over here. So there's less of a problem as far as that goes, because you either can get it or you just physically can't.
No, and that's good. I mean, it's not good that you can't get it, but it's good for Amazon that they're branching out ahead of Hulu in that regard. Because they're just farther reaching. It's why different companies are going to survive or whatnot. But the services are pretty cheap. Like if you just do Netflix Instant, it's like $8. I think they might be upping it to 10.
Yeah, I got an email that it's going up.
It's going up for new customers, was my understanding, not existing ones.
The email I got said that it would stay at the price I'm currently paying for 2 years and then go up by £1 a month.
Oh, okay. Well, again, that's EU, not America, so I can't say a whole lot about that. But I got a similar letter a few years back, expressing that they were going to be doing that. That makes sense. The more you expand, the more you're doing, the more your costs go. I get it. There's going to be a small adjustment here and there, but when you start hiking up prices every year just because you can, that's where you become a bad industry, and you actually become part of the problem. But I mean, Hulu's only again is like I budget like $10 for Hulu, and then I think it's $50 for Netflix because I still get DVDs because I like getting the new releases before they get released on Instant. But again, so I'm going to say subscribe to both. If I can figure out what the advantages of Amazon Instant Watch is, I will figure that out as well and see if I can't utilize that. But I don't know who that service is competing with, you know?
There's another one we can get over here, which is more, it's strictly rental rather than, paying a monthly subscription, which is called Blinkbox. And I don't know how they quite do it, but they get like all the new releases before it gets to Netflix. So I looked on there because my parents have got an account with it, and they have Frozen on there at the moment, and The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which just come out on DVD. But Netflix probably won't get them, maybe not even this year.
Yeah, because Netflix usually takes about. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, there seems to be that kind of level of exclusivity, and quite a few of the cable movie channels, there's a lot of channels that are Sky movies, whatever, they tend to have this level of exclusivity as well, which kind of annoys me when TV channels will do that, because I'm not in a position to pay £40 a month for channels that the bulk of which I'm not going to watch. Well, that's the whole cable issue in a nutshell, really. So services like Netflix are very appealing to me, but if I have to wait a year to see a film, I might as well just go out and buy the DVD.
And I was going to say, this has never come up to my knowledge, and all the time talking to you fine British folks in the community, do you guys still need a license to own a TV?
It depends, is my best answer. Because I live in a student place where if I was watching the TV in my living room as the TV was live, so if I was watching, a sports event, or I was watching like BBC as it was being broadcast, I would need a license for that. But if I sit with my computer, which is what I do because frankly it's cheaper, and I watch BBC from yesterday, if I watch like a comedy show from last night, I don't need a license. So you only need a license if you're watching it as it's happening. Okay,
so you need a license to participate in the broadcast television services.
Yes,
which are basically obsolete.
If it's delayed broadcast, then you don't need it, which is why a lot of students don't bother getting licenses, because they can just wait a few hours and then watch what it was they were going to watch anyway.
But you're talking about watching that on your computer via the internet, right?
Yeah.
So that's not the same delivery, so it's a different service entirely. Now, that's an interesting idea too. Do you need a license for your internet connection?
No. If I watch BBC, like I said, if it's delayed, as it were.
I just meant in general to have a hookup to your house. Is it licensed to somebody?
No. If my laptop in general, I pay it for an internet provider, and that's it.
What are you guys doing over there? That doesn't make any sense at all.
I'm paying for someone to give me internet. That's all I pay for.
No, okay. I never agreed with the license for for access to broadcast television. It never made any sense to me. But now with the internet, you have a better system that is accessible to things that are way more offensive and potentially dangerous in whatever, on the basis of whatever statute that the other one was established. But you don't need a license to get internet hookup. What are you doing? You're doing it wrong, England.
We always do everything wrong. No, I don't agree with the idea of having to pay to watch TV because I think it's stupid. Because basically, from what I understand, the majority of the money I would pay for a license go towards allowing the BBC to do things, because the BBC doesn't use advertising in the way every other TV channel does. There's no ad breaks on BBC, so they have to get the money from somewhere else.
Now, maybe I've got it wrong. Is is it a license saying, like, I'm of age and of consensual blah, blah, blah to be able to use this and not sue anybody for it? Or is it more of a, hey, you need to pay us for our service? Yeah,
basically I'd be paying for the privilege of watching TV no matter how old I am or what I want to do with it.
Okay, that makes more sense. That's just paying for cable. Whereas I think you guys have kind of like a socialized network. The BBC is kind of the broadcast thing. We have several different companies and networks like NBC, CBS, AMC that license through cable providers, and we pay the cable providers the fee, the subscription fee, the license fee, whatever you want to call it. Oh my God, Kat. And so that's where we pay for the rights to watch television. It's through the internet providers. Or now they're internet providers. They used to just be cable providers.
Yeah, I think that's where the big difference is, because originally, let me give you a bit of a history lesson. Up until about 18 months ago, if you just had a basic TV, you could pick up 5 channels without need for any specialist boxes or anything. But then I think it was like probably mid 2012, they turned that off in favour of digital networks, digital signals. So you had to basically upgrade your TV to a new package where you can get, I think, 40 odd channels now, and that's kind of with every TV now, because that is the only alternative now. You can pay for extra cable packages on top, but by default now you pay, I think it's like a one-off payment of £30. That's how it always used to be. So you could get all these channels rather than just that original 5.
I wish they would concentrate on making more quality products than putting out a number of shitty products just so they can make all these extra channels and try to sell it to you. It should be one package of quality entertainment and not 200 channels of garbage.
Yeah, I remember listening to, what was it? How Stuff Works Tech Stuff podcast. They were doing, I think it was on Comcast, and they were on about how you essentially, when you pay for the cable packages, you're really only paying for maybe 4 or 5 channels that you want, and you end up with another 80 channels of shit that you never ever watch or even want to be paying for.
Yeah, exactly, which is why you should be able to order a la carte.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and that is a system that I would very much endorse.
The problem is that the here at least the providers see them as having a value because they're hooked up with these networks. So once you break it down and do it a la carte, people aren't obligated to use those or to purchase for those networks. So, oh my God, are you still there? Okay.
Yeah.
They're not obligated to essentially purchase these networks through them, so they feel like they have less of a value, and the networks drop out, so they no longer have that option. I think that's the big scare, which is why everyone just needs to realize that the cable companies are obsolete. We don't need a middleman delivering it. Just run the internet, and let us watch what we want to watch when we want to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah. So
It's shitty.
okay. So did we hit on most of the topics we want to talk about?
I think so. I think didn't we want to briefly talk about remakes as well?
Well, I was gonna try to tie that in with the Carrie stuff because Carrie has been rebooted twice. Once with the sequel. So I kind of like when I do my movie review for Carrie for We Are Movie Club, because I've already done an official movie review with scores. I'm gonna just try to do a comparison, probably of the three different movies, and see what we gained from remaking the movie. Spoilers. I'm not like Chloe Moretz was too big for the role of Carrie. You just can't contain her.
I haven't even seen the 2013 version, and I I think it could. The fact that Chloe Moretz is in the main role, nothing against her, obviously, because she's a brilliant actress, but as you say,
Yeah.
she's almost too big for that role. You need somebody who is either a complete unknown or is accustomed to playing such little niche characters.
Well, I mean, the latter would definitely help you. I don't think you need an unknown. My point when I say Chloe Moretz is too big is not that she's too famous, not that she's too recognizable, that she is too big of a personality to contain into the meek little character that Carrie is. See what I'm saying?
That's true, yeah. I mean, the only real experience I have of Chloe Moretz is Let Me In when I originally saw it, and the Kick-Ass film, the original one. I haven't seen the second one.
Yeah, it's
in there she's playing very sort of active and, like you say, very energetic roles, I think is the way of putting it.
Yeah, she's a noted action actress, especially at that young of age. I think I mentioned this before we started. She is a credit to her craft simply because I don't think there's another female actor that got started in action that young. She really brought it, and she was perfect for it. This is such an odd casting for her because I don't think she definitely wasn't old enough to like be into the original movie. She probably had to watch it as research. And again, like her personality is just you can't contain her down to being meek like Carrie was.
Yeah, automatically you get that feeling that it may not suit.
Yeah,
Just
somebody was not doing their job, and it wasn't her. I think she did the best she could with the role and the direction she was given. But somebody should have looked at it and been like, "No, we need more than just her name on a poster." I don't know. No diss to Chloe there at all. But I could see them redoing The Professional, like where it's an older kid, because Natalie Portman was 12 when she did The Professional. But doing like having Chloe Moretz play a younger, like a 15-year-old or something, because now you said she's 17.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, where she plays like a younger high schooler that hooks up with this assassin. Sorry, for those who don't know, the short sale on Leon the Professional is that he's a assassin who ends up living next door to a murder spree, and then the only survivor of it ends up being this young girl who comes to his apartment just trying to survive, just trying to make sure that the killers don't get her too. Because she essentially brings groceries home, sees that people are in her apartment that don't belong there, and keeps walking to the neighbors. And who happens to be this guy who's some weird guy that she doesn't know, and it turns out he's a cleaner. And I think Chloe Moretz could really get into that role. I honestly was kind of hoping that when Anna Sophia Robb was age appropriate, that she would get a role like that, because I swore up and down she would be the next Natalie Portman, but I think they kept her in school, so she wasn't able to act and get the role she needed to get.
Yeah, I think for Chloe Moretz, the sky is almost the limit. I don't think that there's going to be a role, certainly in the next few years, that would be beyond her. I think she can only get better from here.
Now, we said that, but we both kind of said she shouldn't have been in Carrie.
True, but Yeah, but then you've got the argument of should they have been remaking Carrie at all?
Oh yeah, that's a completely different argument though. I think they nailed it the first time. I think they brought a lot to it. I think Sissy Spacek was not only a lovely lady of her time, but definitely was the perfect cast for the role, as far as I know of that period. She did such a good job. I think the structure needed to be a little bit different, but they didn't change anything in this latest version for structure-wise. They took out the porn fantasy in the first 2 minutes, but other than that, it was very similar to the original. And I need to see that middle version to get a proper comparison down. Because I'm definitely interested there. But no, so that kind of bleeds into like what we're going to be watching. We're going to be watching Carrie coming up soon for next week. Is there anything else in the meantime that you're going to be watching?
I don't know, because this week coming up is kind of like the bad week as far as my exams go. So I was basically just, because we had that break in inverted commas where Tokyo Godfathers came back, I'm essentially a week ahead at the moment. So I've done Zombieland, I've done Carrie, and with Blue being like a series of episodes, I'll be able to slot that in where I can. So it's just trying to get as ahead as I can at the moment.
Well, are you watching Red vs. Blue episode by episode?
Well, it's in a playlist on YouTube, so I just press play on the playlist and let it run.
Ah, okay. Because as much as I want everyone to go over to www.youtube.com/roosterteeth and watch the series there, it is better altogether without the breaks. I will say that. Absolutely, it's better if you don't have any breaks in between episodes. So like that's how I'm going to be watching because I have the DVDs. So like I'm going to go back and watch season 2 and I'm going to watch it all in one go because it just works better that way. When you watch it in parts, it gives you that separation. So if you have to stop, it gives you a good stopping point, but when you come back and you get into it, you don't necessarily have the context immediately. But they're really good. And I think Bernie made a point of saying this on the last podcast. They make a point of writing it specifically so anyone can jump in at any point, but it's always better if you have the previous context. Okay, so Red vs. Blue, Carrie. I'm going to be watching more Switched at Birth. Like I'm on to season 2 now, and I think there's a third season maybe.
Okay.
I can't remember which one's the new season. It's either 2 or 3. And then when Falling Skies comes in and available, I'm going to devour that too because that was really good. So not a lot of different movies planned coming up, but I definitely am loving my TV shows right now. Big Bang's ending, so hopefully I'll get away from that for a little bit. As much I complain about the show all the time, but I still watch every episode. I just want it to be.
What are you love to hate?
I don't hate it. That's the thing. Is like it could be so much better. It could have been this monumental thing, but they got successful and they got lazy, and they're stretching it another couple seasons. We're gonna see another How I Met Your Mother. People trying to be friends, and it's not gonna happen because it was never designed like that from the start.
You seem to come back to this argument every single week.
It's been on my mind a lot. So I'm sorry to bug you, Charlie.
This is a place to get your opinions on the internet, brother.
Yeah, I know. You get to hear me more than most people, I guess, these days. So sometimes I feel bad. I don't want to abuse your ear.
I'm used to the abuse.
Yeah, I like abusing your mouth more, but you don't talk enough.
We can't talk about that on the
internet. Okay, so is that it for this week?
I think so. Are there any future projects you want to mention?
No, I'm just trying to get my Portal stuff ready for Gaming Division. And I did notice there's it matched some stuff as third-party content the first time I loaded it. So I don't know what to do about that. I don't really care. I'm monetizing things just to monetize them, but whatever. At this point, I just like We Are Movie Club. We just need to get enough content out there, and I think this project and putting stuff out for Gaming Division. I think the more we put out there, the more it's be likely to get noticed and maybe build a proper audience.
Yeah, I have noticed looking at my viewing figures for my personal channel when like the days where I don't upload anything, the view count drops. So it's a case of just having a constant stream of content going out, and eventually it's like monkeys. You throw enough shit at the wall, something will stick eventually. That's the way I think about it.
All right. So you got the con. So if you don't mind, I'll sign off first.
Yep, sure.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. I am Kamurai. You yell at me at Kamurai25 over on the Twitters. Or you could go over and watch my movie review stuff on Jam on Toast 528. That's where all that goes up. I'm not as club intensive other than We Are Movie Club right now, but I definitely do plan on releasing some independent watches here and there.
You plugging Gaming Division while we're here?
Charlie and I both are involved in another project with one or two other fine people called Gaming Division. You can find that over on Gaming Division 528. Right now, I'm putting up Let's Plays of stuff that I'm getting back into playing finally. Charlie and I have done some Blood Bowl. We plan on doing more stuff. He's doing Pokemon. I hope you talk about that here real quick. And what I want to get done for that, because I finally figured out how to make or position the set, is to do more how to plays. Because my how to play Munchkin video got some traction. Go.
Yeah, that was really good. So the future is bright for all of us, I think. I should probably start. I should sign off now. I'm not used to doing this hosting shit, but yes.
Well, we got to trade off more because it's fair, I guess.
Alright, fair enough. Well, I am Charlie. You can find me on Twitter, TheCharlieM. You can find me on youtube.com/snowdog140. I do have other social accounts, but you can find those on your own because can't really be bothered to share those. But this has been another We Are Movie Club Saturday Night Hangout, just the two of us again. But we have enough to keep talking, so as long as we have stuff to say, we'll still be here. And assuming that is the case, we will see you all next week. Good night.
Bye.